Well, buen Camino pilgrims, I am Jeremiah Gibbs. I'm your Camino guide, and today I'm going to be talking about how to save money on airfare. Airfare is without a doubt the most expensive thing that you will spend money on for Camino de Santiago if you're coming from America. And so I want to try to give those of you who are Americans trying to get to Spain a way to save as much money as you can on your airfare so that you can have more money to spend in Spain, or so that you can simply make your pilgrimage for as inexpensively as possible. So I'm going to give you 5 tips on how to save money for Camino airfare, and then at the end I'll kind of throw in a bonus tip too. Let's get started. Now, the first tip, and probably the first 2 are going to be the ways you're going to save the most amount of money on your airfare. The first tip is going to be when you fly to Camino de Santiago. So airfare from America to Europe is much more expensive in the summer, especially in June and July, and kind of extending into August. If you'll see this chart, you'll see that those summer months are definitely going to be the most expensive ones. These are sort of just a random period of time that I pulled, but if you did this at another time, sometimes you'll see even more dramatic differences between, say, April and June. I've noticed that usually in late April and early May is when you're going to see those prices begin to rise from sort of the winter prices. And then usually they're not going to begin to drop off until about the second week of October. So the rise, though, is going to peak in June and July. So you may just be able to maneuver your time off and your schedule so that you can hit those shoulder seasons so that you can save money on your timing of your airfare. Now, without a doubt, number 2 is going to be your second most savings from a tip if you are able to follow this little piece of advice, and that is, don't fly into your destination city, but fly into one of the more inexpensive cities that are around Europe, and then transport to your destination from there. So one of the places that for me, I usually am flying out of Chicago. Sometimes I fly out of Indianapolis where I live, but often flying out of Chicago. If I fly from Chicago, I can get flights from Chicago to Dublin, Ireland for cheaper than anywhere else in Europe. I don't know why that price is cheaper, but you should just check some major cities in Europe and compare the various prices. You may find out that you can fly for a lot cheaper to a different city, and it's important that you're able to get cheap flights then from that city to where you want to begin. So for example, from Dublin to Biarritz, which is the closest airport to be able to get to Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, you can usually find that flight for about $70 or $80 American dollars. Sometimes you can fly those inter-European flights on Ryanair for as cheap as $40 or $50. And so if you can save as much as, I've saved as much as $350 going into Dublin, and then I can spend $100 on Ryanair flights. And sometimes it gives me a chance to see a new city that I hadn't seen before on the way there or on the way home. And so oftentimes flying into a different city is going to be able to save you quite a lot of money. So I would just encourage you to look at your particular flight plans to some of the major cities in Europe, and then take Ryanair or one of the other discount airlines from that city to your destination city. Now, related to that second tip is actually some of the apps that are beginning to do the same thing. I'm sure that other apps are doing it. I use Kayak or Momondo, but they now are giving you what they call hacker fares, and this is really them buying and planning for you 2 different airlines, 2 different flights, and they will bring up these hacker fares, and sometimes you can save an enormous amount of money by buying 2 different airline tickets. Now, both with the plan that I said before, as well as these hacker fares, you should be aware that sometimes the airlines are not going to work well with one another, because sometimes when you get to, let's say, a place where you're going to switch from one airline to another, you may have to go check your bag out and then back in. In fact, usually you will. That layover is going to take more time if you're checking bags. For those of us that are walking Camino, often we just carry our bags with us, so you may be able to save that way. Of course, some of these hacker fares are also going to charge baggage fees. So you got to kind of look at and be careful when you're doing the hacker fares. Sometimes there's some things that are hidden and then they don't end up saving you any more money to do that. If you're getting value from this video, please click the like button. That helps me by sending this video out to other YouTubers. And if you are planning a Camino, then click the subscribe button. I make videos every week helping you plan and arrive at Santiago de Compostela. So please click the like button so that we can help you get to Santiago as well. Probably the other thing that I would really suggest for you is to use one of the applications that will track prices on a flight for you. The one that I have often used is Hopper, but I think Kayak might be doing it now. And there's probably several apps out there that will track a particular flight and tell you when the price is going to be at its best. Now, this tool for me has saved some enormous money at times, because sometimes flights will simply go on a discount. There may not be any reason for why flights at a particular time are a discount, so you may not be able to predict it. But in 1 year, I was able to save about $18,000 in flights simply because an airline put them on sale. And of course, I'm leading groups, so I'm buying lots and lots of tickets at a time. I saved $18,000 in one night simply because I got an email that said there's an airline fare that's a sale that's going, and so I was able to do that. Obviously, if you're just buying 1 or 2 tickets for you and a friend, you're not going to save that kind of money, but you can save quite a lot of money if you use one of these applications that schedule and tell you when a sale has come on. So my 5th tip for you is going to be buying in the right time, the right distance from when you would purchase your ticket. Here you'll see a chart that's going to say that about 50 days out is usually the cheapest that you're going to be able to buy a flight. If you're just looking at sort of statistics across time, traveling to Europe is going to be cheapest about 50 days before you fly. Now, there is some risk in that, because if the price doesn't come down, then of course you're kind of stuck. You're already too late, right? So what I have typically done is I set these alarms, these Hopper app set up to tell me if there's a sale, and then of course if I am not able to get a sale, then at 50 days out I go ahead and purchase, knowing that that's probably the cheapest that we're going to be able to buy a flight. But sometimes just waiting a little bit will actually save you money. But in the meantime, for me, I always have an alert set up to try to catch a sale before I wait for that 50-day mark. So I've got this bonus tip. I already given you 5 money-saving tips, but this 6th tip is actually probably going to be most helpful for those of us who come under some assumptions, and that is, we used to assume that the cheapest way to fly was to fly into one city and fly back out of that same city. And I think because of the ways that applications have been used in recent years, it is now no longer really cheaper to fly in and out of the same city. So for example, on Camino, if you're going to begin in St. Jean, then it may be cheaper for you to fly into Dublin and then take a Ryanair flight over to Biarritz, and then when you go home, to fly out of Santiago or out of Madrid. So, you know, you can sometimes fly into Paris or fly into Dublin and fly out of Madrid or Santiago or something like that, and actually be cheaper than if you were to just fly in and out of the same city. So don't limit yourself just on round trip flights. Also consider those multi-city destinations. So I hope those 5 plus tips we're able to help you to be able to save some airfare money. Certainly begin planning that now. That's going to be one of your big expenses, and I hope that you'll be able to save some money on that. I also have a couple other videos that are help save money. I'll put some of those in the description and hopefully help you be able to save some other money on Camino de Santiago as well. Like this video, click the subscribe button, and buen camino.